The
Hare Krishna, Bruce Madaji. Welcome all of you to the Bhagavad Gita session. So we'll start. Today we'll be discussing the 15th chapter, verse number 3 and 4. जगन्नाथ बलदेव रमाई की जय, नरसिंह भगवान की जय, पंचतत्व की जय, षड गोस्वामी की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय, श्री गोपाल की जय, श्री गुरुदेव की जय। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So 15th chapter, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. The verse today we will be discussing is 15.3 and 4. So let us recite the verse. न रूपमस्येह ततोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर् न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम् असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा तथा पदं तत् परिमार्गितव्यम् यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूयः त्वमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्ते प्रसरता पुराणी. Translation goes like this. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Shri ki jai. See, some time back I was conversing with one of my devotee friends, and he asked a very practical question. He asked, why do we have weakness of heart? Hridaya Daurbalyam. He was asking is, why do we have weakness of heart in spite of so many years of chanting and various forms of devotional service we are doing? Why do we have that? See, his question was very practical, no? Because it is applicable to every one of us in various ways. And in our conversation, we agreed that this weakness of heart shows up in so many different ways. We take a long time to complete our activities. We keep postponing our chanting till late night and then do it just to complete the rounds for namesake. It is next to impossible for us to open Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and read a few lines and try to understand them. Our complaint is that we do not have enough time for these activities. But we waste so much time in other useless, in fact, nonsensical activities. What happens? We initially switch on the TV to watch news because our mind convinces us that hearing news is very important to know what is going on around us. And for a few minutes, okay, no problem. But we end up watching everything else. And we then realize we had wasted more than 2 to 3 hours in watching various other idiotic programs. Or we seriously look out for devotees to associate with, okay? And when we get some devotee association, we either talk about all this crazy news that happens in this world without any reference to Krishna, or gossip or criticize about some other devotees. All these are a result of a weakness of our heart. But the big question is, what is the reason for this weakness of heart? And how to get rid of this? So I asked my Guru Maharaj, he gave the reason. This weakness of heart is a result of our lack of faith in Krishna. Even after so many years of our chanting, we still doubt if Krishna exists at all. We deny Krishna. Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto. That means I am seated in everyone's heart. Now, if Krishna is seated in our hearts, how can our heart be weak? So all these thoughts of weakness of heart is simply craziness because we just skim the surface, right? We read, but we don't realize. We chant Krishna Keshav, Rakshamam, Rakshamam, but we don't really ask him for protection. Faith is a result of our sincere surrender. Because there is no sincere surrender, there is no Krishna Kripa. So without Krishna's mercy, we cannot have faith. And without faith, there is no question of advancing in devotional service. That's why this verse 15.3 and 4, beautiful verse, no Narupamasi. The way, once the moment you recite, you feel so bhava coming into your hearts. So these two verses, see how nicely Krishna has explained us. Number one, the nature of this material world. Number two, how to get out of it. And number three, where to go. So what is the nature of this material world? The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. So this is the nature of the world. The how to get out of it. It says, Prabhupada says, but with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. And then where to go? Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns. And there, surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. The translation itself gives the whole structure. So, understanding Bhagavad Gita in this way and putting them into practice is the way to conquer the weakness of heart. You know, in the last purport of this 15th chapter, very beautiful statement, very striking statement by Srila Prabhupada. He says, the most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. So the problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of heart. So in this 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the first 5 verses, they describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of heart. First 5 verses, it gives the process of freeing ourselves from these weaknesses of heart. And the rest of the chapter, from 6 onwards, till the end, it discusses Purushottam Yoga. Everybody will be understanding the 15th chapter. We recited during Purushottam Mass. You know, to understand more very nicely this point, small pastime. See, once there was a king who received a gift of 2 magnificent falcons. Very powerful, very beautiful, most beautiful birds he had ever seen. Okay. So what happened? He gave these falcons to his head falconer to train them. So months passed, and one day the head falconer informed the king that though one of the falcons was flying very beautifully, majestically, soaring very high in the sky, the other falcon had not moved from its branch since the day it had arrived. It's still there. Now the king, he summoned the healers, the sorcerers from all the land to see what happened to this falcon, to make it fly. But no one could make that bird fly. So he presented the task to one of the court members also. But the next day the king saw through the palace window that the bird has still not moved from its branch. So having tried everything else, the king thought to himself, maybe I need to bring someone from the village, right, to understand the nature of this problem. So he told his minister, go and get a farmer. Next day in the morning, the king was thrilled to see the falcon, which was always in the branch, soaring very high in the palace grounds. Now he said to the court, bring me the person who did this miracle. The court, so immediately they brought the farmer who came and stood before the king. The king asked him, "How did you do? How did you make the falcon fly?" Now the farmer, with his head bowed down, he said to the king, "It was very easy, Your Highness. I simply cut the branch where the bird was sitting." See, we are all made to fly, okay? To realize our incredible potential as souls, being eternal parcels of the Lord, right? We are all made to fly. The perfection of our lives is to attain the love of Godhead. And this can alone bring us unlimited bliss. But most of the times, we sit on our branches, clinging to the things that are familiar to us in this material world. See, the possibilities are endless, huh? but most of us, but for most of us, they remain undiscovered. See, when we conform to the familiar, correct, most comfortable, we're very happy, very cozy, right? The mundane, we love that without realizing that the things to which we are attached, they're all prone to be destructed. And the people with whom we are attached, they are prone to leave us. That is why there is an axe. There is an axe which is required to cut the branch of our attachment to material things. That's what he says in this 15.3 and 4. See, in the purport to Bhagavatam 4:21-32, Srila Prabhupada writes, Bhakti or devotional service is characterized by Vairagya and Jnana. Jnana refers to understanding that one is not this body. And Vairagya means disinterested in sense gratification. So these two primary principles of separation from the material bondage can be realized on the strength of Bhakti Yoga. So when a devotee is fixed in the loving service of the lotus feet of the Lord, he will never come back to this material existence after quitting his body. As it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna, Tyaktva deham punarjanma neti mam eti sa Arjuna, 4.9 Bhagavad. So devotional service helps us as an axe to cut off our attachment to the branch of this middle wood by helping us develop the two strong wings of Jnana and Vairagya. Because this will lead us in our glorious flight to the supreme abode, or the supreme personality of Godhead, back home, back to Godhead. So this is a beautiful verse, very simple to understand, but not so easy to practice because of the attachment, right? So much attached to so many things in the middle world. So we are just like that falcon which was just lying there. It will not fly. So unless the branch itself is cut, it will not fly. So this is how so Krishna tests at every moment. He's testing us. Because we are learning now, we are reading Bhagavad Gita every day. We're coming Bhagavatam, we are Krishna Katha, chanting everything. So just like in the exams, in the schools and all, we have a monthly test or something like that. So you have a test just so that you can get to the next level. So Krishna tests whether whatever you learned that I will not get anger is not good, envy is not good. Okay, now I will not get angry. So suddenly some provocation will come. So that is the time when you are tested. But what you whether really realized Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, so that you will not react, you will not get angry, so that then you get purified. So slowly and steady. So these are two things we have to, whenever we come for any program, hearing Katha and all, there are two things. One, to glorify Krishna and to purify ourselves. These are only two things we have to do. So this beautiful verse gave us some wonderful lessons. So thank you very much, Prabhu Maharajish. Kantra Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.